Hi everyone, it's Margaret Manning here with Retire Different. Retire Different is a place for people who want to ask great questions to make good financial decisions in order to have a fabulous retirement. And we talk about topics in a very practical way, how to approach your retirement in a different way. Now, today I wanted to talk to you about something that may not be such a concern to you when you're working and bringing in a regular salary, but becomes a little bit more of an issue as you get a little bit older. And this specific piece of advice or conversation is more about establishing a lifestyle of taking control of your finances and of your savings in retirement. So when you're in a career and you're in a sort of a career building mode, you're thinking more about increasing your income, making more money and putting it aside and paying for your life expenses. Then when you get into retirement though, you start to cut back a bit on purchases, you start to tighten your belt a little bit, and especially if you haven't saved very much, you're looking to save money at every corner. So something that really probably didn't even bother you when you were working and with an income is now a sensitivity. Now I'm talking about overdrafts. Now, when you were working and having a regular salary, an overdraft every now and again was just something that happened. You know, you just overran a month, and you had to deal with the cost that the bank charged you. But when you get into the point where your retirement is more in focus, and you've got to really look at every single penny, then that $35 charge or more that a bank can charge you for an overdraft fee really does make a difference. And so, some of the ways of thinking about reducing your costs are to try to negotiate an overdraft charge, and and just get into the habit of not putting yourself in a situation where you're getting unnecessary charges on your bank. Now, $35 doesn't sound like very much for a charge. Maybe it's more or less with your bank, but sometimes if you're not careful, say that your salary or your pension or whatever doesn't go in to a certain date, and you go over 2 or 3 times in a day. 3 different things that come due, and your overdraft is increasing every day 3 times. That's like over $100 charge. And banks are not very forgiving when you try to connect with them and make a request for it to be waived. But it can be done. Now, did you know, by the way, that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says that banks make, guess how much from overdraft? They make $11.16 billion from insufficient funds. That was just in 2015. That's just a number to throw out there. That's a lot of money from just charging you when you spend money you don't have. And it makes a big difference. But that's a lot of money. So they don't have very much of an interest to stop those charges. But you can give them a call, and you can try to make an adjustment. Now, how to get your fees waived? Well, banks do make money, as I said, from charging you an overdraft. But there are many different banks now. There's all different kinds of ways you can engage financially. So you've got a little bit of leverage, and people are not so hesitant now about changing their banks, as you shouldn't be. If your bank has not got your best interests at heart, then honestly, what's the point? I mean, you might as well be with a bank that is doing something good for you. If they don't care about you, what are they the best partners to be having for your financial security in retirement? So most of the time, many times, you can get a waiver. And this is how I have done it before. And maybe just give you some little tips of how to talk with a customer service person at the bank. Okay, so the first thing you say is, "Hello, I noticed that there was an overdraft on my account today, and I wondered if I could talk to you about having it waived. Now, if you could help me to make an adjustment." Use that word "help me," because immediately it gets you both on the same side. Like you're helping each other. You're asking the bank's customer service person to help you, and they'll say something like, "Oh, well, thank you so much for being a loyal customer of Bank of Many Fees, but we don't actually have any. It's by our policy," and that's what customer service reps do. I remember actually I used to be a telephone rep for Sears Roebuck, and I used to have a book, literally a book, this is when I was 18, that I used to read from. Like when somebody would say this, I would read from the book. It's the policy book, and that's what their job is. That's what they get to do. But if you can engage them and say, "I totally understand. Thank you so much for explaining. I totally understand. But I've been with your bank for 10 years. I've always paid my bills on time. This is really my first or one of my very few overdraft situations. And can you make an exception in this case? I really would appreciate your help. Help again. Understand. Make it human. These people are talking to people all day that are yelling at them. So if you give them some respect and a little bit of silence, then that gives them an opportunity to just say, well, just a moment, please, let me check for you. And then they will go and say to your manager, whatever they say, I've got this lady, she's been with us for 10 years, she's a little bit upset, and she would really like us, she's being super nice, and can I help her? And then you go, she comes back, or he comes back and says, okay, well, we can make an exception this time. This, honestly, hand on heart, happened to me. And I was actually kind of surprised. But in my situation, I had, something hadn't gone into my account, and I had like 3 different charges on one day. And so they actually were very kind to understand what happened, and then they waived it. So as I said before, who cares about $35? And I say that jokingly, but it is a lot. 35 is a lot of money when you don't have a lot coming in. But this article that we've written, which you can read in its full, version on the website, is not about overdraft fees, necessarily. It's about having a negotiating a life mindset, so that when you have money that's being charged to you in a way that you feel there's opportunity for discussion, just go for it. And don't be afraid to negotiate your position. But those principles I talked to you about, and I've got another conversation we're going to have about negotiating, we'll go a little bit more detail. But this one is really about getting a conversational, a friendly mindset, a win-win situation for your bank. And, most people fail at negotiating because they don't try. We all know when we go on holiday, we barter, for this or that. We're good at that. But with our own banks, our own creditors, we sometimes feel a little bit embarrassed or nervous. But honestly, you have, in retirement particularly, and that's what Retire Different is all about, you've got to take your life into your hands, and you've got to just be a bit brave. As you get older, honestly, no one's judging anyway. It's really worth a go. It's worth trying. And it's not really about $35. It's about taking control of your expenses and working with your partners, with your financial partners, to your advantage. So I hope you found that was useful. Please read the article so you can get some more information. But I'd like to know, have you ever managed to do what I did and call a bank and get an overdraft facility, overdraft charge overturned? And by the way, I should have mentioned this. The easy way to avoid overdraft charges is to not have the opportunity. And banks always let you opt out of an overdraft facility if you like. They don't make that a big, message because they would rather you go over. But if you just say no, I don't, just reject anything. If any checks come through or bill charges come through that are over my amount in the bank, just don't pay them. That's the best way to avoid it. But it's that negotiating framework and that mindset that I wanted to talk to you about more than anything. So I hope that's been interesting and useful, practical. That's what we're all about here on Retire Different, is making it things you can do every day to make your retirement more enjoyable and and fun. So thank you again for listening. Read the article and tell us, have you ever had this experience with an overdraft? What techniques have you used? Have a wonderful day, everybody. Take very good care. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye for now.